The world does not get to hear from Susan live and in person nearly enough. And we are particularly fortunate to have her come and speak to us today about 42 Entertainment and her unique perspective on gamification. And the reasons why we're so unique, why we're so blessed, let's say, to have Susan here, has to do with her unique and special experience. She is a pioneer of transmedia storytelling and the driving force behind 42 Entertainment's critically acclaimed interactive experiences, genre-defining participatory and cross-platform entertainment, often described as alternate reality games, or ARGs. And you know some of her popular ARGs and some of her experiences, including for the launch of Halo 2, I Love Bees, and for Tron Legacy, the astonishingly successful Flynn Lives, which I'm sure many of you in this room and many of you watching at home also played. And prior to that, she was the Chief Design and Production Officer for Cyan Worlds and a creative director at Walt Disney Imagineering, which brings us to this illustrious creative career that Susan has built and her unique experience at building these incredibly immersive experiences for consumers. And so I'm very, very pleased to welcome Susan Bonds.
So you forgot the most interesting thing, which is as a graduate of Georgia Tech from Atlanta, Georgia, I started my career as an engineer in aerospace. So from aerospace to gamification. That's the title of my talk. No, actually what I wanted to do is talk about connected immersion and just the many, many opportunities in this space which we're just starting to scratch the surface on. And what I did today is I tried to bring very few process slides and a lot of examples so that, hopefully it will inspire you to think about, whatever you're doing, whatever you're up to, just the kind of the out-of-the-box thinking that we're seeing, so many people kind of take a risk and try a bunch of things, and we certainly have. We've been around since 2003, and we've just been kind of like pushing the envelope and seeing where the edges are, and so far we haven't found any edges. So gamification is a great word, love the word, but what I would like to throw out there is wrap a story around it and make it an experience. And all the things that you're going to see from 42 Entertainment today are that they're immersive experiences that take advantage of the fact that we're now all connected. And how has that changed storytelling? How has it created opportunities within storytelling? All this stuff you already know. Many of you probably, this is how you got inspired to start your business if you're doing a startup, or what you're trying to push forward with in whatever business or industry or brand that you're working for, is the fact that the boundaries have been erased. And within that, all that gray area, there's just lots and lots of opportunity, but there's also a lot of lack of definition. And so as we come up with ideas, a lot of times what trails behind is making the business case for them. People's expectations are now completely different. I'm actually going to take my glasses off so I can see down here. So people's expectations, today about not only where they consume entertainment and where they consume content and where they play games, but also the fact that they want to participate in them. They want to have a role. They want to have some creative control. So these are all things that have just kind of changed the landscape. And the sea changes, every 6 to 18 months. So how do you stay ahead of that kind of, innovation wave? So what we've done is we've taken what we've learned from storytelling, and you heard my background, is from Disney, where we learned about storytelling and how all the details add up, and game theory, and really creating an experience that's around you. So as you move from platform to platform, you don't lose the thread. We have been calling it alternate reality games. It's been called many, many things, 360-degree immersion, massively multiplayer transmedia games. But the whole idea is that the experience is, sometimes people say digitally led or centered on the web, because it's all about creating conversation, creating shared experiences, collaborating. And people do, that's what they do on the web. So it's centered on the web, but then it spills off of the screens, off of the page, off of the movie screen, off of the television screen, off of the music album, right? And it intersects your life. And the audience has a central and key role. So those are all the kind of things that you're going to kind of see. When we first started out, we were pleasantly surprised by the fact that when you design a game that encourages collaboration and for people to share information, that you kind of form what we have called the collective intelligence or the hive mind, which means you just got a whole bunch of connected people on the web who can pretty much, as a group, solve anything and find anything out. And that's just the way that is. We've also tried to use, think about it, Gabe mentioned that I came from Cyan, where we're making a massively multiplayer online game called Mist Online, or Uru Ages Beyond Mist, is we were always, talking about how, massively multiplayer, social games were connected to this huge 3D environment, which you're creating, and it's, and it operates differently from the real world. So we became very enamored with the idea of, could you just layer an alternate reality on this world and use the world as the game board? So, these are the type of mechanisms that we use to kind of make that a reality. And also in thinking about game design, when you think about this type of interaction, some of the early mistakes we made were focusing too much on the avid player and just kind of missing all the different layers of players that will be kind of seduced down the chain of interactivity. So it is a different type of level design, not so much that you're starting from, the bottom of the pyramid and building your way up to a broader audience, but the fact that, like, at every step along the way, you have to be thinking about if someone's intersecting this for 2 minutes or 20 minutes or, 20 weeks, that there's an opportunity for them to have a satisfying experience, and if they dig deeper, then there's something for them to do. So these kind of realities, this is what we're seeing and learning, and these are also opening up opportunities, not just for different types of game designs, but also for different revenue streams. So I want to just show you just a little video that kind of tries to encapsulate something about alternate reality games. Whoops.
Object that crosses your path. You follow that clue that leads you to an online world.
I can't decide who to send into that lab. If you decide, I can.
It could be a world where a dark future lurks.
In 2007, an unsettling and fractured snapshot of a dystopian future began to seep into our own, manifesting as dozens of websites detailing the bleak existence of the denizens of Year Zero.
For Gotham City come to life. A world that reaches out, using mobile phones, text messages, and email to reach players wherever they are.
Hello, I'm Harvey Dent, Assistant District Attorney of Gotham City.
Will you look through these and see if you can find out where they came from and where they're going? You can use the green room. Thanks.
Players discover clues.
ilovebees.com has just updated with a list of over 200 sites. They gave GPS, longitude, and latitude, and now it's up to us to get to one of these sites to answer what is apparently going to be a payphone.
They work with a community all over the world to follow a story and solve a mystery.
It's really about enjoying the work that they put into the puzzles and the camaraderie that comes with working with other people to solve it.
Online gamers are abuzz about a new game. It's called Vanishing Point.
ClownTravelAgency.com has a list of cities around the world. And on Tuesday, these addresses started showing up.
At first I thought it was an April Fool's joke.
If you're wearing a button for Harvey Dent.
There it is. See it? I believe in Harvey Dent.
Truly, there it is.
It all works together, discovering a secret world, following a story, working for a common goal.
We're not going to stop until Kevin Flynn is back!
So I just want to kind of show you a couple of examples where we've taken and extended an entertainment property across multiple channels and using a structure of a lot of collaborative gameplay, sometimes competitive gameplay. So the first one is Why So Serious, which was an alternate reality game that played out for a year and a half before the Dark Knight, and ultimately had 11 million players in about 76 countries. Oops, sorry about that. I'm here speaking to you guys, in case you didn't know. So kind of the challenge was, the first movie, Batman Begins, was Chris Nolan's first foray into the property of Batman. And the second movie came out in real time several years later, but from when we started, in real time from the last frame of Batman Begins. So our challenge was to take kind of these iconic characters, and there have been decades and decades of people reading about Batman, and apparently young men have to choose between Batman and Superman. I don't really know what that's about, but we were clued in. The women were clued in on this project. Batman is tortured. He's a real person. He chose to do it. I'm just kind of saying. But the whole idea was, how do you get across not just these are obviously iconic characters, and people know a lot about Gotham City, but how can we make everyone, wherever you are, a citizen of Gotham City, and how do you get across specifically Chris Nolan's vision for Gotham City? So the first thing is really kind of, whenever you think about intercepting an audience and kind of moving into a space that's more interactive or more game or multi-platform oriented, you have to think about taking the people who have a vested interest, if there are people who are already enthusiastic about what you're doing, and you have to intercept them correctly. So for The Dark Knight, we knew that there were a lot of people out there who had a lot of opinions about Batman Begins and about the property in general. There are many, many, many comic book forums. Many of you probably read them as well. And so we knew that we had to intercept that audience correctly. So about in, I think, May of 2007, the filmmakers wanted to get out the first official image of the Joker, Heath Ledger as the Joker and Joker makeup. So they asked us how to do it. How can we do it in a way that does what the power of this type of entertainment can do, which is transfer ownership to the audience, make it feel like it's their thing. So what we did is we worked with the studio to have them put up an image of Aaron Eckhart, who was just announced to be playing Harvey Dent, and at the same time, in about a dozen comic book stores in New York and Chicago and LA, we dropped these Joker cards, and they were stamped with "ha ha ha" and "I believe in Harvey Dent too," kind of sarcastically. So people immediately found them and scanned them and went to a website where they saw the same image of Harvey Dent, but now he's tagged by the Joker, and there was a note there saying, if you want your vote to really count, enter in your email address. People did, and they were given back X and Y coordinates, and they were able to go back to this image and remove a pixel. And what happened was an interesting phenomenon, which is the first kind of rabid 20, 30,000 fans immediately did it, and they could see by removing all those pixels that there was an image underneath. So then they had to reach out socially through their social networks and blogs and Dig and different sites to get more people, because it took about almost 100,000 people to reveal this. And all the while it was revealing, which took about 20 hours, lots and lots and lots of stories were being written, and partial images were being posted everywhere. Well, because the Joker is, as you know, an agent of chaos, immediately after they uncovered the whole picture, it went away. And so everybody's hearing about it and reading about it, and they're going to the link, and they get, oh, page not found. But it was on a black page, so if they actually, scrolled over it, there was another message from the Joker saying, ha, ha, ha. And embedded in there were letters that spelled out, see you in December. So people immediately are hooked, right? So first of all, rather than push this picture out to like Yahoo Movies or whatever, which a lot of people would have seen it, it's like they found it, they uncovered it, it's their picture, they had all captured it, it was everywhere. But now they also know something about the Joker, right? So it immediately changed the conversation. The next thing that happened was a scavenger hunt, which happened in San Diego. So just to give you a little background, this happened during Comic-Con, but it wasn't actually in Comic-Con. So I'm just going to let you see what happened here. And the goal behind this was, again, to do an event that really...
In the summer of 2007, the largest comic book convention in the world, Why So Serious, a campaign to promote the upcoming Batman film, The Dark Knight, started with a dollar bill. Over $10,000 of them, altered to say, Why So Serious. WhySoSerious.com was a website. It gave GPS coordinates. Have a buddy online, it said, and it was counting down. Several hundred people gathered across from the convention center in San Diego at 10 a.m. Their friends at computers told them the website said to look up.
What's going on back there?
At 10, 5 jets started skytyping a number, a phone number. Calling the phone number revealed that the Joker had taken a hostage and threatened to kill them if instructions were not followed to the letter.
And then we looked up in the sky and we saw a bunch of jets writing a phone number. And so we dialed that phone number and it was this little message.
A killing joke, the players told their friends at home who typed it into their computers. It unlocked the next clue. Players on the ground had to make themselves look like Joker. The players online had to decipher the puzzles that revealed the next stage and location in the hunt. It was a scavenger hunt through the real streets of San Diego where Girl Guides from Gotham City peddled cookies. It combined online and offline play in a collaborative effort to keep the Joker from the hands of the Gotham City police and major crime lords. A kind of test to determine who was qualified to be the Joker's new henchman. At the end, from the players on the ground in San Diego, one lucky guy was picked and sent off with 2 mob leaders. Lucky guy. On site, the players got clown mask props from the film. Online, the players helping with the websites unlocked the first teaser trailer for The Dark Knight. Over 250...
So what was interesting about that is that, we've learned over the years that you can't just do live events for the people who show up. You have to make them work for the greater community, which is all collaborating together and feels very bought in. And again, that ownership in the story, you have to make them work for them as well. So we actually designed a hunt that only worked if you had online counterparts. And what we didn't expect, given the popularity of Batman, is that 650,000 people showed up to help the few hundred people who were on the ground at Comic-Con. So that was an interesting experiment in how you can, eventize the web. When we first started thinking about the web and we started thinking about putting content on the web, we were all like, okay, we'll put it on Tuesday night and tell people, 8 o'clock. But it doesn't work that way because this computer is mine, and I program it and I show up when I want to, right? So you have to really, push the pendulum quite far to get people to show up by appointment. So a lot of interesting things happened on The Dark Knight, but essentially the mechanism was to draw people into a story. And again, going back to that inverted triangle, some people really got involved in a story. There was a 34-week interactive story that played out where they could, help Harvey Dent investigate corrupt cops. They could campaign for Harvey Dent. They could vote in the Gotham City elections. Coincidentally, Harvey Dent did win as district attorney. He got like 90% of the vote, which I wasn't sure he would get. But or you could, go on, antics for the Joker. You could join the Joker's army. And he was on the scene and trying to create mayhem in Gotham City. And there were there were 281 live events that happened during this campaign, or you could actually help the Batman. But here's an example of a mechanism, and we call this a location-based puzzle that plays out nationally and rolls out across the country. So on a few days before we were going to give away tickets for the 7-minute screening of the bank scene. If you might remember that, happened in December, almost 6 months before the movie came out. We wanted to have people find that site in a really unusual way. So we put up a carnival site, very Joker-esque, with little stuffed animals that had been kind of mutilated. And if you clicked on them, they had GPS coordinates and city locations. And so what happened is, starting early in the morning, we started on the East Coast and had several released, and then they rolled out across the country. People didn't have any idea. They just showed up at these GPS locations, and they were given instructions to ask for a package for Robin Banks. The Joker has a really great sense of humor. So they went in, and they found the GPS coordinates actually were in front of a bakery. So they went in, they asked for the package, and they were given a clown cake. And on top of the clown cake, and these were kind of all different and outrageous, it said, "Call me now," and there was a phone number. So most people just whipped out their phone, started dialing, and then the cake starts vibrating. So they had to dig through the cake and get a Gotham City evidence bag that had coincidentally a Nokia phone and a charger and a note from the Joker saying, "Keep this with you at all times, and wait for my instructions." Well, of course, everybody's like, "I'm in. I want to be an official henchman for the Joker." So, so people are racing around all the, the country trying to get these. And once all of them were retrieved, then that unlocked another original piece of content and also the tickets to go see this screening. At a different level in the game design, There were a group of people who were following a story where, if they got the Gotham City evidence bag, it actually led them to a vault where they were helped the Joker get a badge for a Gotham City Unified School District bus driver and access to a District 22 school bus. And it wasn't until they went to see the 7-minute prologue that they realized that the Joker escapes from the bank robbery scene in a District 22 school bus. So see, they made that happen. So it's that kind of connectivity where you're really, again, erasing the boundaries and getting people involved in the story. So I want to, obviously, Batman is an amazing property. There's a lot of people who are interested in it. But I wanted to give you a case study of something that was completely original and unexpected. Trent Reznor came to us and said, I've been, writing songs for a concept album. Well, what's a concept album today? We know what it was back when, Pink Floyd did The Wall and back when there were physical albums and liner notes, but what does it really mean today in the digital world? So he wanted to build out a complete story, and the music was all part of that. So we came up with the idea of, the music was set basically 15 years in the future, and it was really a what-if scenario. What if people didn't speak up? What if certain things happened? And if we knew about them, would we do anything to change it? So we said, well, okay, let's take something that would mean something to people today. Let's send back in time, not Arnold Schwarzenegger, which has been done, but let's send back a sliver of the internet, from 2022, back to present day, and people will be able to sift through that and kind of put the civilization together, kind of like digital archaeology. So that was kind of the construct, but then the question was, well, how do we play that out? Because the way you do it can almost be as important as what it is, the content that you're putting out there. Because I know you guys are probably music fans, but if you've been on music forums, it's hard to get people's attention. Most people are on those forums talking about their opinion of X song, which is 180 degrees different from yours. So we said, well, let's use everything in the distribution channel for bringing the music to market. So we started with clues embedded in a t-shirt. So if you look at this t-shirt, and maybe you can't see it, but certain letters are brighter than others, and it spelled out, I am trying to believe. And that was it. That's the rabbit hole into the whole experience. So took about, a couple of days. Someone said, I think there's something written on the back of this shirt. They go online and they found this website, I am trying to believe. And right away it looked different, because when you're sent back in time from 2022, it's kind of like you go through a shredder. But the reason we did that is we wanted people to have a game structure. We wanted them to be able to understand when they've come across something that's a piece of the world or not. So from this website, they were able to, read about something that's in the water that's causing people to act differently. That was actually true. No, I'm just kidding. But, and they saw this presence being talked about, a hand reaching down from this. What is going on? And why is this something connected to the back of a Nine Inch Nails t-shirt? So, they found a bunch of other sites, and they're just like going, we don't know what this is. We don't even know if Trent is involved with it. So the very next thing we wanted to do is connect it to the music. So we had this, we said, one of the things that happens in bringing music to market is the music always leaks. And somebody records on a cell phone the single that wasn't what the artist wanted to get out first. And so Trent's like, let's make all that work for us. We're gonna leak all the music ourselves. So he wanted a song to get out first, so he puts a really high def version of it on a small unmarked thumb drive. And our goal was to put it in as few places as possible and see if someone would find it. So the one that was found, we put out about 5. The one that was found was on top of a urinal in the men's room at a concert venue in Lisbon, Portugal. And so, interestingly enough, people will go home and put unmarked thumb drives in their computer. This is important game design information right here. So he does that. He goes home, he puts his thumb drive in the computer, and he goes on the boards and says, hey guys, I think this is a new Nine Inch Nails song. And immediately the community vets this situation or flames him, saying, yeah, sure, Trent's in the bathroom, leaving music around, right? That's just not going to happen. But he uploads it, they all listen to it, and they decide that is indeed Trent Reznor. What is going on? And then they start looking at it. They're like, well, they must be more here. So they start, again, this is the power of the hive mind. They found some noise, some white noise that was in the song. So after a few minutes, someone says, well, I'm going to download a spectrograph analyzer, and let's look at this. And guess what? They found an image in the music, and it was a hand. So all of a sudden, they're like, you know, what's going on, you know? And there was other things that were in the music. So now they're all coming together, saying we all need to work together to figure this out. You know, there's all this stuff out there. We've got to now go scour everything that has to do with Nine Inch Nails and put this story together. We also, at a different concert in Paris, handed out this flyer. It had the same distressed look that talked about art being resistance. And obviously, this is something that was very important to the artist, is that in the future, people have a voice through art. And so that, of course, led to an online website. And we knew this crowd would react really well to this, which was the minute they got to the site, they were told to stop. You know, loud clanging noise, and they were told to stop, and essentially that they were violating the Federal Orderly Conduct Act. Well, this was like fuel to the fire, right? So they're immediately like, you know, freedom is a privilege, not a right. So they're like, you know, again, this is all telling them things about the world, but also getting them to change their mind about some things. And really the goal here was to have people see the world through, the glasses of the future, you know, which of course everyone's interested in. And that's important, to have something that really resonates with everyone. So they now had a bigger call to action than just figure this out. It was like, you have a voice, use it. And as the whole experience played out, we really used everything in the mechanism, you know, everything from album packaging to listening parties to the video itself. When we made the video for the first single, we embedded letters in the time code that led people to other content. The packaging itself, the CD, was actually treated with heat-sensitive ink. So it was black, and then when you put it in your CD player, it came out white, and there was binary code underneath there that led you to other places. And on the back of the album, so let's say it's 10 weeks in, we had over 2 million players, the album comes out, the physical CD in the store. Let's say you hadn't heard anything about Year Zero. On the back of the package, we had an FBI warning that was from the future. It was actually from the US Bureau of Morality. And it said, if you're viewing this subversive material, or you or anyone, call this number and report, you know, be a patriot, be an informer. You know, so all of a sudden you could call that number in the store and you're into the world, you're into the story. So it's all about intercepting people where they are and enticing them in. And then ultimately what we did is start a present-day resistance movement, which set up, you know, chapters in 37 states. You know, and the message that was conveyed was a movement, really. It's like, you don't have to believe what the artist believes, but you have a voice, use it. And the audience was written into the story. Just real quickly, I just want to show you a couple more examples. One is Tron, which Gabe mentioned, which again played out over a couple of years before the movie came out. And in this case, the challenge was to bridge 28 years of fiction. You know, I happen to have been one of the people who saw Tron in the theater because I was an engineer. It was revolutionary to us, you know, that you could get sucked into a computer. And so the whole idea was, how do you bridge that gap for the generation who, when you say, you know, movie in a computer, they go, The Matrix, right? So like, how do you bridge that gap? So our very first challenge was to kind of, again, move the pendulum and get people involved in something that they all could get around. And one was, the one character that was continued from the first movie was Jeff Bridges' character, who happened to be named Kevin Flynn. So we said, okay, well, let's take all the things that people remember from the movie. You know, Jeff Bridges, light cycles, disc wars, the arcade, right? That's what people remembered. So let's make a connection. So we sent out arcade tokens and a thumb drive that had some code in it that they had to decode and decipher. You know, and all work together on, and essentially led them to Comic-Con, and this is what happened.
We are at First and J in San Diego, right across from the convention center, and we're here to find Flynn.
You're gonna get a packet. In that packet is a map and a blacklight. You're looking for Flynn Lives posters. You're gonna get a bunch of codes off the posters.
And we passionately believe that Kevin Flynn, visionary, digital pioneer, a man ahead of his time, is alive.
He built games like Space Paranoid, made Encom what it is, and he's been gone for 20 years, and it's such a tragedy that so many people have kind of forgotten that he's out there.
That man, he is a programmer. And we worship him. So 4R, 9R, 9C, 3C, 3I, 4I, 5080. 6th and J.
So what you can see is that we actually built the arcade from the movie, and actually also built the game that Jeff Bridges was playing in the movie, which was called Space Paranoids. And so people could, for the first time, actually play that game. We made a real game, and ultimately we made it for online. And one of the things that came out of this, because you might be saying to yourself, well, you're talking about experiences that play out over months or years and thousands of assets. How does someone keep track? Well, with Flynn Lives, we actually added another gaming structure, which is achievements. So people could actually know where they were, what they had done, and what was yet to come. And actually, the arcade itself was ultimately taken down to Disneyland, bringing my career full cycle back to Imagineering, and it actually is still open at Disney's California Adventure if you get there. All right, so the last thing I want to leave you with is, okay, so you may be saying, I get it, Hollywood properties, rock stars, we totally get it, but could this work for like a consumer packaged good? Well, I'm glad you asked that question, because we're actually working with a fantastic brand right now that is really taking a huge step and a very courageous leap into making entertainment content to engage their consumers, and it's the Five brand, which is a part of Wrigley, and so they've we've actually created for them. They had actually created a very original brand with this product. If you haven't used it yet, the packaging, everything about it is really different and original and innovative, and the commercials were always really about building a world, and building an experience. So it was an easy place to jump off of to build, an original experience. So I'm just going to show you just a little bit of the Human Preservation Project.
Unbranded ads on Facebook and
now.
weekly papers led consumers to a mysterious sensory test.
Okay, Jalen just found something. Oh my gosh. Oh my goodness. Oh my gosh, it's so good. How is that happening?
TestSubjectsNeeded.com.
So I guess we're all gonna have to go to this website now.
The mystery continued at the Bonnaroo Music Festival in Tennessee, where 8 precision skydivers released over 40,000 ice flies over a crowd of 90,000 people. These ice flies led consumers to a new website, missionicefly.com. Consumers took to the streets in a nationwide scavenger hunt across 15 cities. Once all the ice flies were recovered, consumers were rewarded with a short film that set up the story for a new chapter in the world of Five and launched the brand into epic new territory.
The world needs you. You must act now, before it's too late.
Fans were officially inducted into the Human Preservation Project. They received custom badges in the mail, connecting consumers with the brand at an intense new level.
Take the first step at survivalcode.com.
So hopefully this gives you a little taste of what you can do blending gameplay and storytelling to create experiences across multiple opportunities. All right, thank you.